Okay, so this is a lesson on guns and gun education. So I've done this for my class for several years, and I looked on YouTube, and there was nothing that I thought was really that good about gun education to address the problem with gun regulation and gun control and things like that. So I'm trying to put this online. So let's see how this goes. Um, Okay, the warm up is hypothesize the potential dangers of attempting to solve a problem when you are uneducated or have a very shallow understanding of the problem itself. You may include specific examples when you have seen or experienced this. And I go into the documentary Poverty Inc. that talks about how Tom's Shoes, that donates a lot of shoes to Africa, have actually caused cobblers and shoe manufacturers in Africa to go out of business because there's free shoes, the economics just drive out the actual shoe manufacturers and shoe repairmen in Africa. So they've lost their businesses. Same thing as when Haiti had the earthquake. And then we donated a ton of rice, but all the rice farmers in Haiti ended up losing their farms because people would take this free rice given to them by donations and then sell it at the market for pennies on the dollar because it was all profit. And all the rice farmers who were trying to sustain their lives by selling rice went out of business. So it's very complicated. Poverty Inc. is a fantastic documentary. But this is about gun education because I think it's very important to understand a topic before you promote laws on that topic. You should be educated about what you're talking about if you are trying to regulate it. So let's learn more about guns. Mass shootings, gangland shootings, domestic violence. These are all terrible things. And it's really at the root of what a lot of this stuff are these issues, the issues about mental health in combination with guns and psychotropic drugs and things like that. But this is not a lesson on that. This is a lesson on just guns. And it is important to begin to learn, it's impossible to begin to learn that which one thinks one already knows. And I love this quote because I think that we have this preconceived idea about guns, and you have to kind of open your mind up. You have to empty what you think, and then you can start to fill your cup. So Cory Booker is intelligent, moral politician, and he posts on Instagram this about guns and gave statistics and things like that. And he reposted this from Occupy Democrats, which is a very popular media, left-wing media source. It says this gun is the gun our founding fathers used. It fired 1 or 2 rounds per minute. This is the AR-15 used in today's school shootings in Florida. This is right after Parkland happened. Times have changed, guns have changed, the laws should change with it because the AR-15 fires 45 rounds per minute. What I did was I just took this is the Beretta BU9 Nano. This also fires 45 rounds a minute. So this meme would be equally as factually correct with this gun in the meme, but it doesn't look as menacing maybe because it's a little pink and things like that. This is the gun that a professional marksman named Jerry McCucklick used to shoot 8 bullets in 1 second. It's on YouTube. You can look it up. He shoots 8 bullets in 1 second. That's 480 rounds per minute. And it's a revolver that no one seems to be pushing for the banning of. I haven't heard that in mainstream media or anything like that. But that gun in the corner is actually a faster rate of fire than the AR-15, which is interesting. So the history of the gun issue is important. The Second Amendment was a non-issue for nearly 200 years. And in 1966, the Black Panthers with Bobby Seale and a law student named Huey Newton found a way to stand up to the massive police corruption and violence that the Black community was experiencing in Oakland. The idea of police harassing or hurting people in the Black community is not a new thing. This is a controversial issue going back for a very long time. In the 1960s, Bobby Seale, who was, he was a guy who was into guns and kind of outdoorsy and stuff like that, met up with Huey Newton, who was a law student, and they said, how can we protect ourselves from the police? And they said, well, let's carry guns. The Second Amendment is basically saying that this is our way to stand up to a tyrannical government. And police are government, and if they're beating up Black people in the inner city, well, that seems tyrannical to me, so let's start carrying guns. In a response, California banned guns in certain areas, and those areas expanded to more rural areas, prompting white people to be fearful of losing their guns and pushing growth in the Civil War era NRA. So this is how NRA started to grow, because they said, oh, we're going to lose our rights. But it all started because of black men carrying guns out in the open like this, and that freaked out a lot of people, especially like middle-class white people, and they go, oh, we got to ban guns in certain areas. So the idea of regulating guns started here. And I think that's an important thing to realize, is the history of this gun debate. Okay, why is this such an issue in America? And not as much in more in industrialized nations? Well, America has a lot of guns. In 2015, they estimated 357 million guns for a population of 317 million people. Aaron Karp's work from 2017 says that there's 393 million guns. So it's 46% of the world's guns are in America. This is 120 firearms for every 100 citizens. This is more guns than people, significantly more. I mean, 20% more guns than people. Okay, so there is a lot of guns in America. That's part of why it's an American issue, is there's just the numbers. The numbers are just so big. It's so to say just like get rid of guns, it's getting salt from the ocean. I mean, there's more guns than people. Okay, I think the vocabulary of guns is very, very important, because I hear people say, like, we got to get rid of the guns, semi-automatic guns. We got to get rid of guns that shoot a crap ton of bullets or something like that. Like, we have to get specific. There's automatic, there's semi-automatic or double action, and there's single action. And again, I am not a military guy. I have some information on guns. I have some knowledge on guns, but I might say things that are a little off in some nuanced ways, and I apologize to gun experts out there who are going to say, you know, I got this wrong or that wrong. But bear with me. Please comment the things I get wrong. We can clear this up. Single action is where you have to do some sort of, okay, so I'll go through it this way, actually. Okay, automatic is you hold down the trigger and bullets continue to fire. So as you pull the trigger, it's just, and you let go of the trigger, pull the trigger, and it just keeps going. That's like a machine gun. And then there's semi-automatic, which is every time you pull the trigger, boom, 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 boom. Okay? So there's automatic, semi-automatic, and then there's single action, which would be the ones over here on the right, which would be like bolt action, lever action, pump. You pull a hammer back and then you shoot, or you pump it and then you shoot. You have to do the action to chamber another round to shoot. So automatic weapons are banned. One law was in 1935, and then another one was in 1986. Fully automatic weapons are banned. Some pre-existing weapons you could be grandfathered in. You could get certain permits, pay a lot of money. Like guys like Dan Bilzerian and stuff, you know, have automatic weapons in certain states. They pay a lot of money for permits. If you're military, you have a certain background, blah, blah, blah. But in general, you can't go to the gun store in many states and just buy an automatic weapon. The process is extensive, and it costs roughly $20,000 to get a fully automatic gun. So those are banned. Automatic machine guns are, for all intents and purposes, banned in America. The AR-15 is not for assault rifle. It's Armalite. That's a name brand. It's semi-automatic, and it shoots a .223 bullet, which is fairly big. It's a rifle round, but it's not huge. You can see here how many centimeters it is. It has a long groove barrel and a solid stock. What is the issue with banning the AR-15? Because that's the one that gets pushed a lot. So let's dive into why not ban the AR-15. Well, if you want to ban assault rifles, assault rifle, it's tricky because the definition varies. You have to, if you're going to make something illegal, you have to define what it is to make it illegal. You can't say like being a jerk on the road is illegal. You have to say, you know, hitting someone with your car. You have to define it. So those pushing for them to be illegal often aren't educated on the topic. So that's going to always be a problem. You have to be educated on what you are trying to ban. The definition varies among regulating jurisdictions, but usually it includes, here's how they define assault rifles. If you want to ban assault rifles, cool. Let's define it. Semi-automatic with a detachable magazine, a pistol grip, and sometimes other features such as a flash suppressor or barrel shroud. But loopholes are used by even moral people. You find loopholes in the law to try and get around doing it. So when you want something, you can still do it despite the spirit of the law. And this is what happens, is you can still find a way to do it, okay? So if you ban, let's say you ban turning left. So what you do is you turn right and then you flip a U-turn or something like that. Or they ban phones in your car, so you use speakerphone and just hold it up or something like that. Like if you still want to talk on the phone, you're going to find a way. And if you still want these guns, you're going to find a way. The AR-15 is just the most popular semi-automatic rifle. So banning that particular model wouldn't necessarily ban all of them. So this is an example of a Ruger 1022, and these are also Ruger 1022s. So this is all the same gun. It just looks a little different, but this is also a semi-automatic rifle. So is this being pushed to be made illegal? I don't hear that much, but probably something like this or something like this is. But again, these are all Ruger 1022s. So we have to think about, are we focusing on the way the gun looks or the way the gun acts? Because these all act the same. These all act the same. Okay. Okay, so here's a car analogy. This is a Honda Civic, 2000 Honda Civic, but then on the right-hand side, these are also 2000 Honda Civics. Like, if there's street racing is a problem, they want to ban the Honda Civic, you might want to ban the ones on the right, but not the one on the left. But if they have the same engine and everything like that, they function the same. Just because one looks scarier or more dangerous or more like Fast and Furious, then you are you going to ban Honda Civics? You're going to ban all the stuff on it? It gets a little bit more complicated. And if you ban the Civic, what about all of these cars that essentially function the same way as the Honda Civic? So I know this is a metaphor, but what I'm saying is if you ban the AR-15, there are a bunch of rifles that act the same way. So these guns all have the same description as the AR-15. They're semi-automatic. They shoot a .223 round. They have a long groove barrel and a solid stock. So they will function the same way as an AR-15. They have a detachable magazine. They can shoot just as far. They're just as quote-unquote deadly as the AR-15. If you ban one, these will function the same. It's like banning a Civic, then people just go, well, I have a Corolla. It's kind of the same thing. You know, black and plastic appears to be scarier. It's just like the Civic that has all the Fast and Furious decals and big tires and wheels looks faster, but it might not be. And in this case, it's not at all. These also have the same description as the AR-15, the .223 bullet, the long groove barrel, things like that. Okay. Well, why not just ban all semi-automatic rifles then? Okay, so I'm following a process here. So just go, okay, let's ban the Ruger 1022, let's ban them all. Well, a rifle is defined as a gun, especially one fired from the shoulder level, having a long spirally grooved barrel, intended to make a bullet spin and thereby have a greater accuracy over time. These are all, by definition, rifles. Do you want to call for these to be illegal? This is a little pink 22 rifle. 22 is a very small round. This is like a Mauser or something like that with a stock, and then there's a Glock with a stock. Okay, like, is that more deadly than a handgun? I mean, if you want to ban semi-automatic rifles, these would be banned by definition. Do you want these to be banned? Yes, no, okay. They can just take off the stock on the Glock, and then all of a sudden it's not illegal anymore. If you ban all semi-automatic rifles, these will not be banned. Do you understand? Like, these will be made perfectly legal. These are legal. They're semi-automatic. They shoot rounds and all that kind of stuff, but they don't have the shoulder stock, so they don't fit the definition. Therefore, if you ban semi-automatic rifles, you ban assault rifles, these are going to be legal. And I don't think that people trying to make, you know, safer situations or trying to get rid of dangerous guns would want these to be legal. Okay, so banning semi-automatic rifles or assault rifles would not ban these because these are not rifles. So let's just ban all semi-automatic guns, right? So you get these too. Okay, well, that's between 70 and 90% of all guns in America. So we're talking about millions, maybe 350 million guns would become banned. Okay. These are semi-automatics. So if you ban semi-automatics, you have to ban these. That's nearly every gun in America. Do you want to ban every gun in America? Okay, because that's getting into some sticky areas. I mean, how would you even do that? Just go knock on doors, go to West Texas, hey, give me all your guns. I don't know how that would go over. I'm guessing not very well. And I don't know how many people are calling for these revolvers and shotguns and stuff to be banned, these tiny little guns. But that would be what a semi-automatic ban would look like. Well, here's another problem is when certain things are legal and then banned because of things like flash suppressor. So legal, and then it has a little piece on it and becomes illegal. Like putting a little spoiler on the car makes the whole car illegal. It doesn't really make sense. And the reason this happens is because a lot of legislators don't understand guns. They're not watching PowerPoints like this. I hope they do now, okay? This is a silly meme, okay? But essentially, the idea here is somewhat realistic. If they passed a law to turn in guns, okay, who would turn in guns? Well, people who follow laws, right? Like, okay, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to. Who would not? The people who don't follow laws. So if you do turn in guns, then what you're doing is you're taking the guns away from the people who follow laws and keeping guns in the hands of those who don't. So now there's an imbalance of who actually has the guns. Well, Australia did a gun ban. That's true. They did a buyback program where you could take your guns in and they'd pay you for it. And 700,000 guns were collected and destroyed, which is a third of the guns. If this was attempted in America, it would be 500 times larger, and it would still leave well over 200 million guns, close to 300 million guns still in America. And it would be of those people who choose not to partake in the buyback program. Why do you need these guns? Is a very good argument. Like, why do you need an AR? Why do you need semi-automatic? Why do you need these big magazines? It's a really good point. Well, why do you need a car that goes 65 miles an hour? Clearly, that would make people safer. In 2010, there were an estimated 5,400,000 crashes, 30,000 fatalities, 32,999, and injuring 2.2 million. About 2,000 children under 16 die every year in traffic collisions. So far more people than guns, okay? And making cars limited at 65 miles an hour would make them safer, maybe more convenient and things like that. But that's a reality. We don't need cars that go 100 miles an hour, and it'd actually be safer if we didn't. So it's a similar thing, maybe. We're also 72 hours away from complete chaos and lawlessness. This is on a Radiolab podcast, I believe, that if there was a big earthquake or a situation where you lose power and water and all that kind of stuff, we're about 3 days away from complete lawlessness, where your neighbors are going to try and kill you for food and things like that. And we think of ourselves as being very safe, that we're living in such an advanced time, but things can go gnarly really quickly. And I think a lot of people have guns because of these kind of, doomsday scenarios, which are possible. Many areas of the nation, police response time is more than a large population hub of 8 minutes. So in New York and Los Angeles, it's about 8 minutes from the time you call the police to the time they got here. And the places, Chicago, the places that have strict gun laws, more urban places have quick police reaction time. But millions of people live in areas where the time is close to an hour. If they have an intruder, how do they protect themselves? What percentage of those who advocate strict gun control live in areas with quick response times? Think about it. Wealthy areas, cities, things like that. The people who want guns, the more gun toting areas, are more rural, where cops don't just show up as soon as you call them. So there is an issue there about if someone's breaking into my house, call the police, we'll be there in an hour. That's extra scary if you don't have a way to protect yourself. These are just issues. I'm not saying that there aren't arguments back, but I'm just promoting these issues. So an outright ban isn't realistic. What about attempts to regulate thus far? Well, in California, I said your home state because I teach in California. In July 2016, there was a semi-automatic rifle ban. These are made legal in California. Why? Because it doesn't have a pistol grip. They had to define assault rifle, and one of the part of the definition was a pistol grip. This is not a pistol grip. You can see, if I can do this here. Right here. Oh, well, yeah, there you go. Okay. This is not a pistol grip. It connects to the stock. So it's no longer there. So yeah. That area, because it doesn't stand on its own, now these are made legal. Okay. Try and do this. All right. Okay. This, illegal, because it has a pistol grip. This, illegal, because it has a pistol grip, but this, legal. So what happened was they banned assault rifles, and then they just found loopholes, and they still sell them. They just have grips like this. Legal. What do you think? Legal. Illegal. Legal. See, there's loopholes. Common sense gun laws. California is the most strict state, but what I showed, is this stuff common sense? You see, like it's not as easy as common sense. Do something. Hey, we need to do something about gun laws. Well, that insinuates a large group of Americans doesn't care about mass shootings. And I don't think that's true. I think we do care, but I'm trying to show you that it's more complicated than we need to do something, or, thoughts and prayers, that's not going to solve this thing. Okay, but what do we do? Ban assault rifles? I just went through why that is not as easy, because you need to define it, and then you need to enforce it. And that is really, really difficult. Both the left and the right believe their ideas will prevent future mass shootings. Until we understand that, nothing will be done. The left, political left, believes if you follow what I say, it'll stop mass shootings. The political right says if you follow us, then we'll stop mass shootings. Okay, there's elements of both that we need to understand. The NRA is vilified in this a lot. The NRA wants safe gun use. Okay, the people who are doing these shootings are not NRA members. Okay, in fact, NRA members have stopped mass shootings on several occasions. They believe they're saving lives, and it's really important for people who vilify the NRA. Not saying that they're not without sin. I'm saying that they believe that they're saving lives, and there's evidence to show that they have saved lives, because it's not NRA members. They promote safe gun use. They're the ones who teach the classes about safe gun use and things like that. So it's more complicated than just the NRA wants guns in the hands of bad people. It's not accurate. The NRA money buying politicians. Okay, well, blaming the NRA for gun violence does not help. The NRA sincerely believes that they're supporting saving lives. Compare this to the abortion issue. Okay, like the abortion issue. This is something like Planned Parenthood believes that they're helping people. They don't believe that they're hurting people. Okay, and the pro-life groups believe that they're helping people, not hurting people. So you have to understand that the other side just has different morals, but they're not immoral. NRA spent $3 million for lobbying in 2016. That's 154th in the nation. 154th. They're not like the biggest lobbyists by any stretch of the imagination. I have over here, a whole bunch of places that lobby a lot harder. Okay, total $58 million in spending, mostly on negative campaign ads for politicians who wanted to take guns away. Look, the idea that politicians are being bought, I think that's a tough place to go. Sorry, this is messing up a little bit. Because I believe that the NRA goes after people that already support their ideas. I don't think that someone who is very anti-gun and believes that guns are killing children will go, oh, you know what? I changed my mind. Actually, you gave me a couple of $1,000. You're campaigning for me, so now I'm okay with killing children. It's just as soon as you say that someone is okay with killing children to help pay for their campaign, I think it's a non-starter. So we have to give people more of a benefit of the doubt on both sides, and this goes for a bunch of issues, but I'm just using it now for the gun issue. Okay. Politicians take certain stances, and then they're going to get support from those people. Are they going to choose their stances based on who pays the most? Maybe. But if you're going to say a politician do that, then I would say the politicians on your side do it too. It can't just be the Republicans do this. It definitely can't be just the Democrats do this. If the Democrats do it, the Republicans are doing it. One political side is not just more moral than the other. Okay, read Jonathan Haidt's work, The Righteous Mind, and you'll understand that. So here, pharmaceutical research, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Philip Morris, the cigarette company, and then there's the NRA. Like, how much money is really being spent? If you see the NRA at the bottom, NRA is the pro-guns. Every town is the anti-gun. It's actually fairly close compared to pharmaceutical companies are way more. I mean, it's 500% more. So what about money going in from the government for other things? Guns killed 38,000 people in 2016, but 2/3 of those are suicide. So there's a whole mental health issue to that as well. There were 11,000 gun homicides, 267 were assault rifles. Now this might have increased with recent mass shootings, okay? But that's less than 1%. It is still like 1 or 2% of all killings are done with rifles, with just rifles in general. So prescription pill overdoses were something like 20,000. Heroin overdoses were 80%. Started with prescriptions were 12,000 in the same year. And now it's going up and up and up. Last year, heroin overdoses were like 60-something thousand, okay, with fentanyl and things like that. Far more people die from heroin than guns. It's not even close. And that is started from prescription opiates. So we should be very careful about that and the influence that lobbying has in the pharmaceutical industry. And there was just a big lawsuit for Oklahoma, I believe, that they have to pay millions upon millions of dollars. Johnson & Johnson has to pay millions upon millions of dollars because they were fueling this opioid crisis. Okay, so there's a lot of bad stuff out there. Why the pushback against an assault weapons ban? Well, nearly all statistics report that only between 1% to 3% of all gun homicides are caused by a rifle. 10,000 are caused by small handguns. Okay, a lot of gangland violence and things like that are all small handguns, domestic violence, stuff like that. School shootings seem random and unavoidable, where gang violence and crime in bad areas of the country and poor areas of the country, it's just like, well, that's just life in the hood and you sometimes die, and it doesn't get the same media attention, but it's tragic. And we need to focus on that tragedy, but it's not the assault rifles that are killing our citizens. It's not. Statistically, it's not. It's terrible. But it's who it's killing that's getting a lot of media attention. You shoot up a predominantly white school or an affluent school in an affluent area, it gets a lot more attention. Someone, dies in the streets of Beverly Hills, that gets a lot of media attention. Someone dies in the streets of Highland Park or something like that, or in East LA, it barely even makes the news. There's an issue here going on, as far as the classes. Even within school shootings, the Virginia Tech shooting was the deadliest school shooting in the modern era. And it was committed using exclusively handguns. So this is the Virginia Tech shooting, and he used 2 handguns. So the idea of mass shootings or school shootings is not just a gun issue. That we can't just focus on the gun issue. There's a lot of issues around it. Maybe the gun issue is one of them. But if the biggest school shooting was done with handguns, that needs to be a data point to keep in mind. So you have the data. What can we do? Enforce gun laws. We need to enforce gun laws. Okay, that's very important, enforcing gun laws, because something like 90% of gun crime is caused by people who have stolen guns. So we're not enforcing the law enough. Let's enforce the rules that we have before we add more rules to what? Not enforce? So that's number one. And we all agree on that. 92% of the public, 73% of NRA support restrictions for violent offenders. So if you are a violent offender, a lot of people say that you should not have guns. Okay. There are other people who say that you should, you pay your debts to society, you served your time or something like that, you screwed up as a kid and then you come out and you live in a tough area and you want to protect your family. There's arguments there to say that you should be able to do that with the great equalizer. If you are a frail person, a sick person, a disabled person, well, someone bigger or stronger than you can just hurt you. If you have a gun, you can protect yourself. Okay. Education is something we can get behind. Provide better school security. Okay, now this is tough, even school security, because the Parkland deputy didn't do his job. Okay, the shooting that happened in Thousand Oaks at the bar was done by a veteran who could have gotten a job as a security guard. So this stuff is tough. Journalism responsibility to not publicize the shooter's name or image. That's an important thing, because Nicholas Cruz made a video on his phone before he did the Parkland shooting and said, hey, my name's Nicholas Cruz. You don't know who I am, but you will, because I'm going to shoot up the school. And he became like a celebrity. And when you have a lot of nihilism and you have a lot of, feeling like you don't matter in the world, that could definitely play a role. Possible gun laws. And I'm not proposing, I'm just saying these are some where we can start talking points instead of like a ban. Bump stocks. Okay, that's a loophole for automatic weapons. Maybe bump stocks should be banned. Maybe not. I don't know. A continuum of caliber, size, and rate of fire. I don't know. Small moves in a direction. 90% agree upon how we improve as a society. We can improve this, but I'm putting it out to you. This is the short lesson on guns and gun education that I hope clears up a little bit. And thank you for watching.